Women in Gaming, Breaking Barriers and Building Opportunities in Sports.
Hi everyone.
Hello.
Now
Hello.
you can hear me. Hi everyone, welcome to the Women in Gaming panel. I'm so excited to speak to you all about these beautiful ladies and what they've achieved in their careers on the pitch, off the pitch, and in the business of sport, and how the iGaming community can come alongside of them. I'm going to introduce them. I think the title of this panel, first of all, is awesome. Women in Gaming, Breaking Barriers and Building Opportunities in Sports. Breaking Barriers, I think, is Women in Gaming's become our motto, really, just breaking barriers. So I want to introduce you to Tezna Abrams first. Tezna, I'm a huge fangirl. Tezna is a professional South African Paralympian. She's a record-breaking para-athlete and motivational speaker. She specializes in the 100-meter and 200-meter, as well as long jump in the T44 classification. She's broken the African record in long jump 4 times and holds multiple records in sprinting events. In 2024 world rankings, Tezna was ranked 2nd in the world for long jump and 5th in the world for the 100-meter and 200-meter. She made her Paralympics debut in the 2024 Paris Games, where she placed 10th for the 200-meter and 11th in long jump, setting a new African record. Tezna is also an iGaming retention specialist, and so she's one of our industry's own. And Tezna, first of all, congratulations on everything that you've achieved. But what's more is that she actually changed disciplines in sport in 2023. She used to be swimming, and she changed her discipline in 2023 to track and field. And in just 1 year, she managed to qualify for the Paralympic Games in Paris in 2024. So it's a massive, massive achievement. Tezna, transitioning from swimming, like talk me through it. I can't swim 2 lengths and I'm done. But you not only did that, but you also then transitioned into track and field. Talk us through the challenges and adjustments of switching sports, training differences, the mindset shift, overcoming setbacks, and then all of that, those challenges, and still managing to set continental records and a place at the Paralympic Games.
Well, thank you so much for the amazing introduction. It's lovely to be here and be speaking in front of everyone. I was able to swim for many years, and I used to have this joke that says, swimmers are better in water than on land. And I wanted to test that theory after I retired from swimming, to see if that, notion was actually true. But pretty much the transition from swimming and track, the amount of hours I spent training and the focus and dedication I needed ultimately set me up for my track journey. I had to learn different things from strength training, more explosive ground movements, because in water you weigh nothing. So it's easy to swim 6 hours a day, but doing a 2-hour track session, it's a lot more complicated. And especially having a disability, your training has to be constantly adapted. So my coaching team is amazing. They are always up for having me challenge them, because certain times of your body, you can't actually do a certain movement. So then we adapt my training for it. But pretty much learning how to shift from non-gravity to gravity, have more explosive training, learn to train 6 days a week still, and have 1 rest day, and have your strength training, your long jumps training, which is specific plyometrics. Then you have your sprint training, which is speed, endurance, technical drills, and then have your strength and conditioning to make sure your body is explosive, you're learning how to use it, you reduce the risk of injury. That's pretty much been my mindset, and learning to, I think the background from swimming was ultimately enough to help me be able to compete internationally. It's strange to think that you are competing against people that you watched at the Olympics, at the Paralympics, and now you're part of one of them. And it was like a whirlwind of a thing to If someone told me I'm going to start a sport and then 6 months later you're going to go to Worlds and then a year later you're going to go to Paralympics, I probably wouldn't have believed you because it's almost impossible to do something like that in a short space of time. And I feel like that ultimately helped me not only think you are one of the best athletes, but stay in that mentality that you are still learning. You still have to develop and you still have to grow within the sport. So I think that's helped me a lot.
That's incredible because learning, developing, and growing is what we in this industry are, challenged to do in our careers day to day. So thanks for sharing. I now want to introduce you to Natalie Barlow, a good friend of mine. Natalie is a UEFA qualified football manager and vice president of communications for the UEFA Academy. She's the director of Africa for Schaechter Sports. They're a global football agency dedicated to bridging the gap between international clubs wanting to expand their footprint on the African continent. Her previous role was with La Liga Southern Africa, supporting the growth of that popular league within the continent. And before that, she helped set up the now famous Cape Town City FC along with John Committees and his cohort as their brand and marketing manager. Natalie, welcome to Sigma.
Thank you.
So, from Cape Town City FC to Schaechter, that's quite a journey. And because I know your journey, I want you to talk us through, what changed the course of your career from helping in marketing from a football club to then going global, working for La Liga and assisting with Bundesliga presence on the African continent.
Thank you for having me. Thanks, Gail. So I would say from Cape Town City, when Cape Town City started in 2016, I was working for the same chairman at Ajax Cape Town, which was affiliated with Ajax Amsterdam. And when he started the club, I was one of the first people that he fetched to come and set up Cape Town City with him. I think during the first season, at first, women, we normally there as the personal assistants, the secretaries, the receptionists. But I think when Cape Town City started, what he did, I was literally involved in each and every department. And that's when I knew I wanted a career in football. And instead of focusing on marketing and what I'm there for, every time it's anything to do with player registration, sponsorships, events, I was there. I've put up my hand to try and assist. We always speak about women in sport being left behind, but I think it's also up to us to put ourselves out there instead of waiting for someone to come and fetch us and lead us. At that time, I decided to study again and looking at all the courses that was available. FIFA even have a course, I think, at Port Elizabeth University. And I thought, okay, as a female in the industry, I need to find something that's different than any other male here in South Africa. And I came across the UEFA Academy and the different courses that they have to offer. Because I was in a football club and at that time managed a marketing team, I decided to do the football management course. It was not easy for the application. It was not easy just to get in. It was different interviews, different applications. I managed to get in. And what I've learned there, we were 28 students, different nationalities. But what I've learned is, I think us in Africa and in South Africa, we always think that we're very far behind and we need to learn from the international market, but it's not always like that. That course, the 12 months, being with all the other students in London and in Switzerland, there was a lot that they also learned from me. And after that was when an offer came up from La Liga, the Spanish Football League. I eventually joined them. It was supposed to, supporting the growth of the league, basically having more people watch the Spanish Football League instead of the EPL, which is not the easiest here in South Africa. But with Schaechter Sports, working directly with Bundesliga, it was a no-brainer for me to join them. Working at the highest level of football in South Africa, I realized there is a big need and a big gap in grassroots football. Not just grassroots football, grassroots sport. We need more support there. And that's when I thought, okay, Schaechter Sports is the agency that I can join. The Bundesliga has a lot of grassroots projects that they offer here in South Africa, and we have quite a lot of Bundesliga clubs that's focused on expanding in Africa, and that's why I joined Schaechter Sports eventually.
Awesome. That's very exciting. And then I'd like to introduce Hayley Joseph, not at all unfamiliar to this stage and this platform, and I'm sure has rubbed shoulders and worked with so many of you. So Hayley is the Director of Emerging Markets for IGP. She's a commercial strategist. She's in sales, leadership, and business growth, an expert in market expansion, UK, Ireland, SA, Africa, Denmark, and Sweden in particular. She's a top 50 influential woman in Africa. She is a WIG ambassador, Women in Gaming ambassador. And what a lot of you might not know about is she's actually a former South African women's hockey team player, which I think is phenomenal, especially with the growing landscape of women's sport in general in South Africa. She also completed 2 full Ironmans, and get this, 5 Comrades marathons. So, Hayley, you're my new hero, you and Tezna, in that space. And so my question to you is, what was it like playing for a South African women's hockey team back then? What was the landscape like from a funding perspective? You were also building a career, starting, to grow your career, I would say. So like working full-time part versus also training full-time. Like, where did you find the time for that?
I think my South African career was in my youth, really. Okay, so, but yeah, going back to those days, it was really tough. We used to have to fund ourselves. There was no money in the sport, until Spar came along eventually. But we had to do money miles outside the local Spar and the pick and pays and things like that. But it was tough. It was expensive then. For any normal family, they couldn't afford it, so it was really tough, so there wasn't money in women's sport, or even, in hockey in itself, and it's still like that today. I've still got friends in the sporting field, and they're still battling, so that was tough, so that was a team sport that I was involved in then, and then I wanted to challenge myself and go into an individual space. And I was mad enough to decide to do the full Ironman while I was starting my career at Hollywood Bets at that time. I had to obviously speak to my bosses and say, look, I'm doing this mad thing. Do you mind if I actually have a bit of time to myself? And yeah, it was a lot, getting up at 3 a.m. in the morning and training before work, doing a full day at work and still doing another session in the afternoon. Weekends, I was kind of like, out on the road, having to do 3 disciplines, basically over a weekend, and kind of in my pajamas by midday because I was ready for bed, But yeah, it really taught you how to motivate yourself to be dedicated. And my goal was, one foot in front of the other and achieving the Ironman. For those that don't know, it's 3.8 Ks of swimming in the sea, 180 K ride around the Port Elizabeth coastline, which has got wind blowing in your face, and then a 42 K run. And you just go 1 foot in front of the other. So I went back to do it for the second time. Why, I don't know. Okay. And then, the Comrades Marathon, I started running. I actually couldn't run. And then I lost 35 kilograms and decided to take up running. And I actually had a bet with a friend while I was drinking red wine. And basically went on to run Comrades. And my first year, in fact, I'll tell you my story, is that I took a bet to run the Comrades Marathon, but I made it in 12:01, so I missed the cutoff by 1 minute. So I was the last person that went over the line while he shot the gun in front of me, and that was soul-destroying. I went back for the second time, and I managed to do it in 11:59 and 47 seconds. So I snuck in like you can't believe. I ran under the guy's arm, So, but the Comrades Marathon is the ultimate human race, as we know, and you push out of your comfort zones, you push out of your boundaries. you train yourself up to 60 kilometers and then you're in nowhere land, okay, for the last 20 to 30. So from that perspective, you go delirious. Yes, you basically, the only thing that gets you through is the goal that you want to make to achieve the Comrades Marathon. And then the biggest disappointment is the smallest medal that you'll ever get in your life. Okay, so yeah, it was, I've learned a lot over my sporting years. And I mean, it's just the camaraderie that comes with it, the friends you make, the kind of rubbing shoulders with people that you never like had to stay in, has come across my path. I mean, she's phenomenal. So yeah, it just teaches you so much and it humbles you and you just become really dedicated and it's been a privilege to do that type of stuff. Yeah.
I honestly think that Breaking Barriers is just the most apt title. I'll say it again for you three ladies in particular. I have goosebumps at your achievements. And so my second part of the question, or my second part of the panel I want to broach with all of you is the sponsorship and the funding aspect and how, potentially the iGaming community can align with athletes either individually or team sports, and with brands such as the Bundesliga or Cape Town City FC locally and across the continent, how this community can align from a funding perspective to support, uplift, and grow your disciplines. So, Tezna, I'll start with you because you mentioned to me yesterday that your transition into track and field and then qualifying for the Olympics was largely self-funded. And so you were working to support, your discipline. And even from a Paralympic perspective, having achieved such great heights, funding or sponsorships is still so difficult to come by. So talk us through, what a partnership with an iGaming, partner would look like from a sponsorship perspective.
Like Hayley also mentioned, in the hockey, it's also self-funded. So unfortunately, it's a sad reality when it comes to sports, especially with women athletes. We generally do have to self-fund ourselves in order to make the big competitions and go to Olympics or Paralympics or Worlds. So I feel like for me, having to work a 9 to 5, still train 6 hours a day or 6 days a week also, the help of a sponsor would really help in terms of financial. So they can take off the financial stress of our traveling, our training camps, our coaching fees, but more for competitions because so unfortunately in South Africa, we don't have too many events that we can compete in throughout the year. So most of our competitions has to be in Europe. So then we have to stay in Europe for anything between 2 weeks to sometimes a month to be able to get us all the necessary qualification standards and, train in high facilities. Because if we're in Cape Town and it's raining, we can't train. So then we have to go into the gym. So I feel like sponsors, if an iGaming company does come on, for para-athletes ourselves, we tend to not get as many media recognitions, but we have over 150,000 people watching our events in all combined. The Paralympics last year was the biggest viewership of a Paralympics in history, which was amazing. We had over 2 million tickets sold. So I feel like besides just the financial support a sponsor can give us, we can be part of product launches, media talks, speeches, they can have their branding on the apparel. We can have more voices for women athletes to show what we go through, how we can help. And it can also, the more people trust the athletes and support the athletes, the more they trust the brand that's backing the athletes. So I feel like overall, that would help besides just the financial. The brand gets the awareness, they get the visibility to a market that's probably not widely dominated, which gives you a step in an industry that is definitely booming. Because Parasports around 2028 is probably going to be bigger than Paris 2024. So it would be the most ideal time if companies wanted to sponsor para-athletes or any women athletes. It would be ideal right now because it would help us so much more to be able to compete and compare to our male counterparts who do make a lot more money and are widely shown as opposed to women's sports.
I can say as a marketer, we often speak about a differentiator, what's going to make us stand out in market. So from a sponsorship perspective, I think that looking to the Paralympians para sports, it's an excellent opportunity. Like Tezna said, obviously, it's not cluttered with, gaming like so many other sports that we partake in. And then women's Paralympic athletes in particular, I mean, there's massive opportunity there. And I would encourage you to give it some thought post this conference. It's a great opportunity. And then, Natalie, on to you. So you mentioned that you found this UEFA course. It really changed the trajectory of your career from locally in South Africa to globally. You also self-funded, or you got a part sponsorship for that course. What are the opportunities in learnership where the iGaming community could partner up and assist in the learnership phase of the business of sport?
The funding side, it's always that side. I always say I was lucky, I was fortunate, but the chairman of Cape Town City always tells me I worked hard. That's why he assisted me with the funding for the UEFA course. I see when I was at Cape Town City, I tried all the time to employ young interns straight out of university, females specifically. And you can see a lot of them would like to go further their education. And unfortunately, the funds are not always there for everyone. If we look out there, like even La Liga has the La Liga Business School that they offer, but for us South Africans, it is a lot of money. UEFA has more courses offered to women, and it's your traveling that's also included. So you're always going to need someone that can be able to assist you with that funding. But courses out there, yes, there is. I always try and look at the courses that you get your practical side of it as well, such as the UEFA courses, because with the UEFA, they deal directly with the clubs. So you get the experience on a match day to also learn than being in a university and you don't actually get that kind of experience. But I think it's important for brands to start looking at buying in the dream of women in sport, and not now in that they want to see return on investments. Yes, women has been left behind. Yes, we are stepping up now, but we need someone to also help and give that little bit push with some funding. And just recently with Schaechter Sports, what we're doing is we try and take a lot of our youth on trips to Germany to go and experience what it is to work with Bundesliga clubs directly. I know myself, like working with professional players here in South Africa, once a player leaves South Africa and he signs with a new team, it can be in the UK, it can be anywhere else, they struggle to adapt. They struggle to adapt and they want to come back home. And if we give our youth at a young age, brands like yourself, give youth at a young age to go and experience these tours, go and experience the different cultures, learn on the highest level of football there internationally and come back, it helps the youth a lot. We have currently a few teams, youth teams that's going down to Germany, but everyone that's funding them, it's for the boys. No one wants to really fund the girls. So I'm sitting with girl academies currently, not just in Africa and in South Africa, that wants to go. They need this opportunity. There's good players, but they don't have the funds, and the brands are looking at helping the boys before they're assisting the girls. So there is a big gap, and we need the brands to start buying in the dream and not on seeing return on investment now, but in a few years' time, they'll definitely will.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that a league as big as the Bundesliga are saying, hey, we're willing to support any teams or academies on the African continent. We're willing to support you, we'll back you. But no sponsors are coming on board from the continent side saying we're going to help fund this. So again, from a differentiator perspective, I think I'm giving some opportunities here. Even my brain is working in terms of, the exact opportunities that can take place following this. And then Hayley, you mentioned that back when you played for SA Women's, there was lack of funding, and now we are literally sat with the same problem, lack of funding. When Banyana reached I think it was the last 16 of the FIFA Women's World Cup last year, they were phenomenal. They played exceptionally well. The women's football team and South African women's football team. And one of the comments coming out of that World Cup was, imagine where this team would be if they had proper sponsorship, a proper league structure, proper funding, and proper salaries, keeping our homegrown talent in South Africa. So from a sponsorship perspective, not just in the hockey space, but all women's sports space, talk to me about your view of what sponsorship from the iGaming community within those spaces could unlock.
Yeah, like a powerful real-life example comes to mind with Visa when they actually went on to sponsor the FIFA Women's World Cup. They had breaking records with viewership. Okay, it was enormous for them, so that's a powerful example on its own. If I look at the iGaming industry and how it's diversified, and you look at the statistics around the industry, let's say for an operator, and you look at how many women are playing on casino and slot games, okay, you can do those stats and numbers in your head, and how much trust and reliability would that bring to an operator, actually, if they had to back women, and I think that's something to look at. You've got to talk to you got to do your KYC. You got to know your customer, and I think there's a lot more women that are coming out around the African market that are actually playing on slot games, casino games. Okay, they're starting to dabble into sports as well now. So I was sitting with someone from Kenya this morning, and they were saying their biggest punter in Kenya is a woman. So. From that perspective, I think operators would actually get really good mileage out of it, and I think that's what we have to look at. Is that you got to look at where you want to place your brand. What do you want to do to accelerate the market that you want to go into? And I think with us having such a vast African space, I mean, we've got 52 countries in our own country, and I think Africa alone. It's so diversified. So I think, for any operator, it's a no-brainer. I would be putting my hand up and actually looking to back the right space with a women's sponsorship. Then that would encourage a lot more play on the sites and stuff like that. Coming from Hollywood Bets, they did it also. They started backing women's netball. They started backing a little bit of football. So I think they're going in the right space, and they've seen the writing on the wall. One of the biggest brands in Africa doing it. I think people should follow suit, yeah.
Absolutely. I think, frankly, it's a matter of who's going to do it and how soon are you going to do it, because the opportunity is in women's sports, whether it's from a Paralympic perspective, whether it's in the football space, partnering with global leagues or multiple disciplines. And so I think it really speaks to another barrier that we are going to break down. So I want you to put a massive round of applause on for this beautiful panel. I think that there are women who are doing the right things, leading the charge in dominating our industry. And thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day at Sigma.